guys, I'm back with another episode of She Knows Ball. It was a long international break, but definitely much needed, right? And in true Premier League fashion, we've come back from the international break and there's just drama all over the gaff. So let's just get straight into it. Liverpool fans, you already know I'm getting on to you, yeah? Because not only did I make you sip last week, and the week before that, but we're now having 4 consecutive sips in a row. So I just thought, you know what, Liverpool fans, I didn't even bring my wine today. I said, listen, you Liverpool fans, it's not even a wine thing. I have come in handy and I brought you lot something stronger. Liverpool fans, don't even get the wine anymore. You need something that's gonna burn the chest. Do you know what I mean? Just don't even get the wine. We've got the Buzz Ball for you, something a little bit more stronger. If you wanna get the Hennessy, I ain't gonna knock it. If you wanna get the tequila, the Don Hilly, the Patroni, I ain't gonna knock it, cause you're gonna need it. So let's do the honors and let's pour it up for the Liverpool fans, right? Liverpool fans, let's take a sip. Liverpool fans, this is actually the 4th consecutive sip. How many sips do you lot want to take? You lot are just going to be drunkards then, because if you're just going to keep sipping, boy oh boy. Anyways, that's why I said you guys need to reach for something a little stronger so you can really feel it to the chest, right? But yeah, goodness gracious me. So we had a lovely little lineup from the international break going into game week 8. And of course, we had a nice fixture coming up. We had Liverpool versus Man United. And Man United haven't beaten Liverpool at Anfield for only God knows how long ago that was when they last beat them. And it was like, and you know what? I'm not going to say that I knew Man United were going to win, but I had a feeling that something was going to happen. And that was further consolidated by Yardman. So I remember watching Arsenal Fan TV, and Man United and Liverpool actually hadn't played yet. And I remember Yardman saying to, I can't remember his name, Cecil or something like that, that United are going to beat Liverpool. And that if United beat Liverpool, that Robbie has to say on Arsenal Fan TV, Arteta out. I don't know how far Robbie has come in saying Arteta out, but I don't know, maybe I'll post something online and see and find out whether Robbie is going to live up to that bet. But yeah, what a game that was. I can't lie. The games this season they've been eating. I'm not going to lie. Like, the games have been end-to-end stuff, and that is what you want. Like, you want to see competition. And I literally tweeted before the game, I said, please, United, please. It's my Sunday, right? Everybody knows, if you're a football fan, you look forward to Super Sunday. So Super Sunday will kick off at 2. So everybody gets their task done by 2. So whether you wake up, you make breakfast, you go to the gym, you cook for the week, whether that's your jollof rice, your rice and peas, your dumpling, your eforiro, you just get all of your meal prep out of the way so that you can sit. By the time Super Sunday kicks off, you've got your alcohol, whether you like to drink your beer, your lager, your tequila, and you want to sit and you want to actually enjoy a game of football. You don't want it to be a whitewash in like the first 15 minutes. And so that's why I even tweeted, I said, please United, if you're listening to me, let me enjoy my Super Sunday. Like, I want to have an entertaining Super Sunday. I don't want it to be a whitewash. I don't want to go have done all of my tasks and knock them out of the park. I don't want to have gone to the gym, cooked, I've made my dumpling dough, and then I come and sit down and the game is over in 15 minutes because United don't know how to defend. That's not what I want. And boy, I don't know who sent that tweet to the dressing room, but they heard me. United came clutch. United came clutch and shocked the Liverpool team within the first minute, right? And that's when I said, oh God, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a game on our hands. We've got a game. And so Mbeumo comes in, he scores. What a lovely goal that was, because that goal wasn't even easy either. And I'm actually really happy for Mbeumo. You guys know, if you've watched the other episodes, I've been screaming about Mbeumo and how that has been a really, really good signing for United. Like, I'm really happy for him. I think him and Cunha, like I said, guys, you already know, I've said this in previous episodes. I said, these men look like United players. Like, they look like they genuinely want to play for the club. And they look like a good fit, if I'm being honest with you. So anyways, Mbeumo opens the score with a lovely, lovely goal. And yeah, it was a really, really good job from Man United up until that point. They were defending well. They were keeping it professional. What's his name? Casemiro wasn't a liability. I was thinking, oh God, when he got that yellow card, I was thinking, oh my God, they're going to have to sub him off because he's going to get a red somehow. But no, they kept it cute. They kept it clean. But, you know, you couldn't just help but feel like Liverpool are going to equalise here, right? Because that's just what Liverpool do. And lo and behold, they equalised. After hitting the post like 3 or 4 times, Cody Gakpo finally gets his goal. And big shout out to Cody Gakpo, by the way, because he's making Isak look like little fish. I don't know, yeah, he's making Isak look like little fish. And so his goal was well and truly deserved. But when he scored that goal, you couldn't help, because of the time that he scored it, there was still a lot of time on the clock. You couldn't help but think, oh my God, Liverpool are going to somehow finesse this, and they're gonna grab a dirty win, a little smash and grab, like, and just come out of nowhere. And then you'll just think, oh my God, Liverpool are going to equalise. Liverpool are going to equalise. But I remember Gary Neville, he kept saying in the commentary, he was like, I feel like United are going to score, you know. I feel like United are going to score. And I kept thinking in my head, Gary, I wish, but come on. I don't know if they're going to score and get out of this. And literally 5 minutes after Gary said that, Maguire came clutch with the header and he makes it 2-1. And honestly, I have already spoken about Maguire on the show already. So you guys, if you've been following, you already know I'm really happy for Maguire because it hasn't been easy for him at Man United. You know, there was a period where it was really volatile for him at the club. Everybody wanted him gone. You know, they stripped his captaincy. Like, it was a whole lot. And I actually really like Maguire. I think he's a really good defender. He's solid. He's great for England. I actually never really understood the hate that Maguire got. Especially because out of all the defenders, he's the one that always comes clutch. Like, he knows how to score. Like, he's good with his head. I'm not gonna lie. So I was really, really happy for him in that sense when he grabs the winning goal. And yeah, it was a really, really entertaining game. And I really enjoyed that. So yeah, nobody disappointed me on Super Sunday, and they didn't make me, you know, be mad that I got all my tasks done before 2 p.m. because they kept me entertained for the full 90 minutes. But yeah, child, we got to talk about Liverpool's attack, because not them relying on Cody Gakpo all of a sudden when they done bought Isak, Ekitike, and everybody was out here talking about, yeah, Liverpool's attack is great, it's solid, nobody can compete with them. And it's looking scary under the lights for Liverpool's attackers, even for Salah. Like, it's looking scary. And, you know, Isak actually had a shot on goal. And he actually missed. Well, he didn't miss, but the keeper blocked his shot. But I feel like the keeper blocked his shot because Isak gave him the opportunity to block his shot. Usually, Isak will do a little flick where he'll let the ball, like, he'll lift the ball over the keeper. But in this instance, he hit it directly at the keeper, right? And I feel like that was clear evidence that Isak is feeling pressure. Because if he had that opportunity when he was playing for Newcastle and he had that opportunity on goal, he would have scored that. There's no doubt in my mind that Isak would have put that in the back of the net. But it looks like there's a little tension. And so, yeah, it's actually crazy. we're going to really, really see the effects of this Isak signing. And you know what? It might not prove to be all of that. And I think it mainly boils down to the fact that what I think is the reason why, you know, Isak might be 10th so far is because of the fact that he's probably constantly got at the back of his mind this thought that, oh my God, if I don't perform well in the first 60 minutes, or if we get to the 70th minute and I've done nothing, I'm going to get subbed off for Ekitike. Like, that competition. Usually competition can be healthy, but I think right now what Liverpool are facing is unhealthy competition, because now he's under pressure to perform, because he's going to constantly be thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be subbed off for Ekitike. Then if Ekitike comes and he does brilliantly, will I find my way back into the squad? And then am I going to be embarrassed because, you know, the way that I moved when I tried to move away from Newcastle to get this Liverpool deal, it's just, yeah, it's just looking crazy. But yeah, it's actually so funny that no one is getting onto Isak when Isak actually has Premier League experience. Why is it that everybody gets onto Gyökeres and saying this, that, and the third? Gyökeres hasn't scored in, I don't know, 2-3 games, when Gyökeres is actually coming from a different league entirely. Isak actually has Premier League experience. He should be hitting the ground running. And it's actually funny how no one's really mentioning that. But I did touch up on that in one of my episodes before this episode. So go check that out if you haven't done so already. But yeah, there is this whole debate about how, you know, this is really exposing Slot's ability, because, you know, everyone has said that when Slot won the league, you know, he inherited Klopp's team, which I'm not going to lie, that's not a lie. He did inherit Klopp's team, and that really, really helped him. Of course, I would still say that he still had a lot to do. And, you know, winning the Prem for anybody is never going to be easy regardless. So, yeah, he still did do his thing in that sense, but definitely he did inherit Klopp's team, which I think made it just that little bit more easier for him. So yeah, I can't lie, I'm really, you know, glad United got the win. I think it's nice to have some competition and some positive news. Like, it genuinely gets boring if they were to just lose all the time. Like I said, when I'm looking forward to a top 6 fixture, Super Sunday, I want to be entertained. I don't want to be like on my phone scrolling on Twitter because the game's done in the first 30 minutes. Like, that's not what football should be about. But anyways, yeah, so that's that. Moving on to Arsenal. So Arsenal have continued their fine form, and you know, I'm really proud of Arsenal, I'm not gonna lie. You know, they had Fulham, and Fulham is usually one of Arsenal's janky fixtures. Like, Arsenal just always have this weird outcome when they play Fulham. Like, they just genuinely don't do well, and it's really nice to see Arsenal pick up points in games that they would have lost last season or drew last season. So Newcastle, Fulham, West Ham, we've actually won those games, and it's really been amazing to see. And it's nice to see the rotation in the squad and the different goal scorers. So Trossard scoring, and so that actually, you know, is quite positive to see as an Arsenal fan, because it shows that it's a whole team contribution and a whole team effort. We're not just relying on one goal scorer. And that's even what I would actually want to touch upon. Have you not all noticed that Saka is getting more free time on the ball because he doesn't have as many players that are marking him, and that is because of no other than Gyökeres. So Gyökeres is actually pulling in defenders more because they have his attention more, because obviously, you know, the whole hype of, you know, Arsenal's new shiny signing and whatnot. And so when he pulls those defenders in to come and mark him, what he's actually doing is giving Saka more time on the ball and more time to either have his shot on goal or assist. And so, you know, that's really nice to see. Going into that game, I knew Arsenal were going to win. I was asked for my prediction by a friend, and I just said, Arsenal are winning. And, you know, he was like, are you sure? And I said, listen, I'm not really worried. I've said this in how many episodes. I haven't been worried as an Arsenal fan. Like I'm talking deeply worried. Obviously, we were all worried when we played City and we played Liverpool, but we were worried in the sense that, was Arteta getting this wrong in terms of the lineup and he's setting himself up for failure? But not worried in the sense where, like, I have confidence in our attack. I have confidence in our defense. Yeah. So I have a lot of confidence in our defense. Our defense we have the best defense in the league right now. And we could even go on to say probably in Europe. But we'll touch upon Arsenal's midweek Champions League game in a minute. But yeah, Arsenal played professional. I think the first half wasn't the most entertaining in a sense, but I'm happy with that. Sometimes I feel like, even though I just had a whole segment just now saying that I want to be entertained, in the sense of Arsenal, I'm talking, that's more like as a neutral. In the sense of Arsenal and being an Arsenal fan, I actually don't always want to be entertained. Yes, sometimes playing that beautiful football is nice and it looks good, it looks sexy, it looks classy, it gives that Wenger vibe type of thing. But there's times where, listen, I don't need to be entertained. Just give me the 3 points. No matter how it's done, kind of thing. And so a lot of people saying, oh, the first half was boring, like not much happened. But to me, that was professional. If you were to look at City and how City used to play when they were going on their, you know, winning streaks and winning leagues and trophies left, right and centre, often the games were boring. And that's because City would approach it professionally. They wouldn't let the team have, you know, many shots on goal kind of thing. And then they would just score when they needed to score, whether that was the 70th minute or the 80th minute. And they could be playing boring football for 70th, 80th minute, but they'll make sure that if it hits that 88th minute and it's 0-0, they'll get that 1-0 goal. And sometimes that's what you need. You just need professionalism. And I feel like that is exactly what Arsenal brought to that Fulham game. Again, you know, our defenders have been doing well. I saw a stat that actually said that, I'm going to actually bring it up. It says, Arsenal's defenders have scored more goals than they've conceded in all competitions this season, the fewest from Europe's top 5 leagues. That is a crazy stat. That is a crazy stat. And I've actually got another stat, and that is, yeah, so Arsenal have actually only conceded 3 times in 8 Premier League games. And, you know, one of those goals was Haaland, which is inevitable, understandable. Haaland is unstoppable at the moment. The other was Voltemade, Newcastle, difficult game, not mad at it. And then again, the other was away at Anfield when Szoboszlai scored that magnificent free kick. So these were, you know, goals that they were justified and they were really, really hard to stop. But other than that, Arsenal are really, really shielding that defence. And I'm so happy that Arteta has recognised that and he's trusting the defence now. And so he's not setting up the midfield as defensively as he was trying to do at the start of the season. And so, yeah, it was a really, really great game for me. Arsenal did what they needed to do. They got the 3 points and they got out of there and they maintained their position top of the league as they should, and rightfully so. And so, you know, all eyes were going into, you know, the European fixture midweek, which actually happened yesterday. All eyes were on Gyökeres because he hadn't scored in a minute. And, you know, everyone actually wanted to see what Arsenal's ability was in Europe against, you know, a really, really good side like Atletico Madrid. Oh, child, let me have a break. My throat hurting. So yeah, everyone was like, okay, cool, we've beaten Fulham, we've gotten over a little hurdle of ours. What can we do against Atletico Madrid, right? And boy, did Arsenal put on a performance. It was, I would say, the first half, it was a balance between both teams. Arsenal looked like they were going to score. Then sometimes Atletico Madrid would look like they were going to score. When they hit the post, Raya also made a mistake. I think Raya's just getting bored, if I'm being honest with you. Sometimes I think because Raya's not really faced with much or any challenges, he just gets bored and does dumb things. So yeah, we nearly conceded a very silly goal because Raya decided to just do something stupid. But hopefully he learns from that and he, continues to keep it professional. And so, yeah, I don't think Atletico Madrid actually even had a shot on target. Or maybe it was one shot on target the whole match. And that just goes to show how good we are defensively. So yeah, the match was going steady. And then all of a sudden, Arsenal turned the game around and end up scoring 4 goals within the space of 20 minutes. I just want to say that Miles. What a run that was. Like, that run was absolutely sublime. And then the pass, he got the pass, like the timing of the pass, so spot on. And then, wow, Martinelli, whew, what a finish. That is not an easy finish. I will honestly say that is not an easy finish. And that finish was sublime. It was an absolutely classy goal. And as you know, I have been one of Martinelli's haters for probably the past 2 years. I was quite fed up with him just having his head down all the time and just not knowing when to release the ball and just always being offside as well. And that's one thing that I've really, appreciate from Martinelli. He's learning how to stay onside. So for that goal, he actually stayed onside and, he finished it really well. He finished his dinner and I'm not going to lie, credit's given where credit's due. And yeah, he ate that up. And I also want to shout out Gabriel as well. He's just always there when you need him. Set piece FC. Obviously, sorry, I should have spoken about the first goal first. Set piece FC. Had a free kick. Who other than Big Gabby to get a header in and just, yeah, neutralise the opposition. So that was always nice. So yeah, I think that goes hand in hand with that stat of, Arsenal's defence scoring more goals than they've actually conceded. And wow, that is actually amazing to hear. I'm not going to lie. And then here we go. Gyökeres gets 2 goals. And I'm really happy for him. I feel like he needed that weight to be lifted off his shoulders. Of course, there are going to be people that are going to say that they're not really satisfied with the type of goal it was. So it wasn't really that classy, finessey, sexy type of goal, but it was rather one of them scatty goals kind of. But listen, a goal is a goal. To me, it doesn't matter how you get the goal, just score. And that's what he did. He was in the right place at the right time. And I mean, what more could you ask for? I think in other games, he'll probably have more of a chance to show a bit more class on the ball. But I'm not really mad at it. I feel like people are just looking for faults wherever they can. And I mean, haters are going to do what they need to do, and that's try and throw the opposition off. So, when people are talking about Gyökeres and things like that, I think it's out of genuine fear, and it's because they just genuinely want to see him flop, but it's not really the reality. What they need to do is they need to focus that attention onto Isak and Ekitike. To be fair, not so much Ekitike. I rate Ekitike highly. I think he's done a good job. I think he would have done even better had Isak not actually come into the team. But yeah, what they need to be doing is focusing on Isak. So wow, it was a really good game. I'm not gonna lie, very proud of Arsenal's performance. Atletico Madrid is not an easy team as well. It's not Wolves or Sunderland. Like, this is big Atletico Madrid, Simeone. Like, it can get really political. Like, Arsenal haven't really had great games against that team before, especially in the Europa League when we've lost the final and things like that. So it was a really good game and a good achievement for Arsenal to continue their winning streak and their fine form. So yeah, that's Champions League win was definitely nicely supplements. So that Champions League win nicely supplements the Premier League win, and hopefully Arsenal can continue this win into the Premier League weekend against Crystal Palace, which I know is going to be a very, very difficult game. Another game that Arsenal can be a bit janky with Arsenal. Like, you never really know which way it's going to go. But again, I'm confident that Arsenal can get a good result and the win from that game this weekend. Hopefully Mateta doesn't come with a hat-trick, but, I doubt it. Our defence is really, really good. And I just don't see us, if we do concede, I don't see us conceding more than one. I'd be shocked if we do. But yeah, I expect Arsenal to win that game as well. It'll probably be a bit of a difficult game for Eze. Just, returning to Palace since everything. So I actually wonder how Eze is going to do in terms of his performance. I've seen a lot of people asking whether Miles should start instead of Calafiori, but I agree, and I think, if something's not broken, don't fix it. Yes, he performed well in the Champions League, but that was the Champions League. We're now going back to the Premier League, and if you've seen in my previous episodes, you would know that I keep on honing on the fact that, listen, you've got to treat your games differently. Just because you've done this in the Champions League doesn't mean you got to do it in the Premier League. You keep your consistency. You make your changes. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, Calafiori hasn't put a foot wrong in the Premier League, so he needs to start. And then Miles can start a different game. I don't know, maybe a Carabao Cup fixture or something like that. But yeah, in other news, Ange was sucked. I said sucked. Woo! Pals. Pals. Who was he sucking, child? Who was he sucking? But anyways, okay. Back to being serious. My throat. So yeah, Ange was sacked last week, and it was a ruthless sacking. I'm not even gonna lie. They announced that straight after the game. I mean, the guy was probably still in the dressing room addressing his players, and they done announced that he was sacked. I'm talking media outlets. Like, that to me is crazy. Like, the guy had not even left the stadium. He hadn't even left the premises, and he had already been sacked. I felt like that was a little bit too ruthless for me. I think that it was a bit unnecessary for him to get sacked right after the game. Very, very disrespectful. I think they could have waited till probably after the press conferences were done, just so that, well, not the after game press conferences, but I'm talking about like the midweek press conferences were done, just to, because now when you're going into this press conference, all the questions are going to be about that. And so it could have given Nottingham Forest just a bit more time to, be a bit more grounded, prepare for the weekend, and the game and the fixture ahead, rather than everything being about Ange being sacked. But yeah, how long did the guy last? Jesus, that was absolutely ruthless. But I did call it. I said, if you saw my previous episodes, I said this is not a good appointment. I just don't see it working out. I'm not really sure what the Nottingham Forest owner was doing when he sacked Nuno. I know that Nuno did come out and say, things that the owner didn't like out in the press. But it's like, if you're going to sack somebody, make sure you're confident that the person that you're sacking them for is going to come and do a pretty good job. Because right now, the Nottingham Forest owner is looking like a goddamn fool. He's looking like a fool because it's not working out. And they've appointed they've appointed Dyche, but it's like, I just still don't see him being on Nuno's level. And so now the Nottingham Forest owner's looking like a fool even more, because it's like, man, you sacked Nuno and you don't even have a good replacement. Like, if you ain't got a good replacement and you're unhappy about some of the comments he made, you might have to just bite your tongue and just let it slide. bite your tongue. There's bigger fish to fry. But yeah, there was one meme on Twitter that was actually funny and was like, it showed Ange leaving the premises in his car smiling, and they captioned it saying, "This is the face of a man that's just been paid 7 million for like 30 days of work." And no, that's facts. I'm sure Ange is not losing sleep. I mean, 7 million for 30 days worth of work. Where can I sign up? Shout. Nottingham Forest, if you're seeing this, sign me up. I could do with 7 million for 30 days worth of work. To be fair, I'll probably do a better job. But yeah. But what I do want to say is, listen, even though Arsenal are top of the league right now, City are lurking. I feel like City have gone under the radar. I think I mentioned this in my last episode as well. City have gone under the radar, and we shouldn't sleep on City. Don't get me wrong. I feel like City have weaknesses, particularly in their defense. But right now, Haaland is an unstoppable machine. And if he continues like this, City are going to go far in the title race this season. I think they're definitely in it. Yeah. I think the title race right now is between Arsenal, City and Liverpool. But let's move on to some FPL. I'm just going to go through this a bit quickly. But if you want like my... To be fair, this is more detailed than TikTok and Instagram. But yeah, I prefer giving my FPL takes on Instagram and TikTok. I don't know. They're just a bit more fun and more quirky. And it's nice seeing all the comments and things like that. But let's have a little recap on how I did this game week. So I ended this game week on 78 points, which is not bad at all. Sorry for my cracked off screen. 78 points, which is not bad at all. Oh yeah, Gabriel assisted for that Fulham game, didn't he? Amazing. Yeah, he did. I remember that actually. So yeah, Gabriel was one of my highest scoring players with 12 points, and then Haaland had 13 points, which was amazing. So I captained him. I made the amazing decision to transfer out Ekitike and bring in Voltemada, and that paid off because yes, Voltemada returned and he got me a nice little 8 points. So that was a really good transfer used. And so green arrows only, please. So I'm now in the, I think 1.3 million. And then I think in England, my position is 400,000 and something. Anyways, let's get into game week 9. We've got an early deadline. I hate early deadlines. I really hate it. It does mean that on Saturdays that I can actually have a lie-in and not worry about the 11 a.m. deadline. But yeah. Anyways, let's look at some strikers. So of course, Voltemade is one of my top strikers that I recommended last week, and I'm going to recommend him again. He's just on form right now. I think it's been 3 games and he's had 3 goals. Scored against Arsenal, scored last week, and they've got Fulham, which typically, statistically, I'm not gonna lie, Newcastle don't do the best against Fulham, but when someone's in form like that, you just can't run from it, so it's like you might as well. And then I've also recommended Gyökeres. To be fair, I've been recommending Gyökeres for a long time now, and it pays off sometimes and then it doesn't. Do you know what it is? Gyökeres is a good player on the pitch, but it doesn't translate well for FPL purposes. All managers already knows what I mean. I'm going to give him one more game week. Yeah, one more game week just because I just feel like... but it's like I can't, because after that they've got Burnley, then Sunderland. It's like, how could you not have Gyökeres? But at the same time, I'm starting to think maybe it's best if I just double up with Arsenal defenders and then have Saka, rather than having one Arsenal defender in Gabriel, then Saka, then Gyökeres. Let's see what Gyökeres does. I'm hoping that he's going to build off that momentum from the Champions League and actually get it cracking against Crystal Palace, which is very hard and tough and unlikely, but I'm hoping for something. And then I've also recommended Richarlison, and that's because Richarlison has a good record against Everton. And so even though, yes, he's been a bit off form, he does have a good record. So if you're looking for someone to transfer in, maybe a little differential, then I'll probably go for Richarlison. But be warned, that is risky, but there's no rewards without risks. And of course, you want to if you haven't transferred in Haaland by now, then I just don't even know what you're doing. I know some people are still holding on to Salah for dear life. I don't know why, but they should have been gotten rid of Salah. I think I got rid of Salah like 3 game weeks ago because I just thought, nah, something ain't right. With the addition of Isak and Ekitike, it just takes away his ball time and things like that. And Gakpo seems to be the midfielder that is delivering right now. And so, yeah, last week I recommended people to transfer in Gakpo. So if you listened to me, you would have got some Gakpo points because, of course, he scored against United and deservedly so after hitting the post only God knows how many times. So, midfielders. As always, if you've not got Semenyo by now, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. And if you've also not got Saka by now, I also don't know what the fuck he was doing. Right? But yeah, so you should already have Semenyo. Most people probably are getting Saka by now as well. But let's look at some alternative players. So Burnley actually have Wolves, and if you know, Wolves have been horrific this season, and so I will be going with Jadon Anthony. He's got a really, really good history. So he's Sunderland, he got 13 points, then he got 6 points against Man United, 10 points against Nottingham Forest, 6 points against Man City. He hasn't done well in the last 2 game weeks, but I'm hoping I'm hoping for the Wolves game he will get something, and then he has Arsenal next, so I'll be looking to transfer him out ahead of the Arsenal game. So yeah, I've got 1 transfer this week, so I might roll it over till next week so that I can make that transfer for then. But hoping that he's going to do something against Wolves. I've also recommended going for Grealish. You know, Everton have, I believe it's Tottenham. So yeah, Grealish didn't get to play against City, but he might have a little 1-2 something for against Tottenham. You know, Tottenham have been conceding recently, so I feel like, you know, that's a good opportunity for Grealish to get some returns on that. Equally, I also recommend Kudus. I'll be keeping him in my team. He should have gotten a goal last season, the previous match, but it was ruled off because I think it was offside. But he should have gotten a goal, which is very, very incredibly frustrating. But yeah, I'll be keeping him in for that reason. Mbeumo, you know, guys, I've been raving about Mbeumo for God knows how long. Obviously, he scored against Liverpool, and so I think he's going to be on a good run. Yeah, Brighton are a very, very hard team, but I'm hoping that he'll probably be able to build on his form. And, you know, United are probably going in it with confidence. But at the same time, I say this because sometimes United, you know, they always seem to want to perform well against top teams. And then they go and face a lesser team. And then it's like, whoa, I thought you guys were trying to build something here. But anyways, I would definitely recommend Mbeumo. Also, I recommend Caicedo, of course. Chelsea actually have... Who do Chelsea have again? I can't even remember for the life of me. Who Chelsea have? Oh, Chelsea have Sunderland. Don't get me wrong, Sunderland have been great defensively, but I think, yeah, it will be good for, to bring some Chelsea players in. Last week, I recommended bringing Cucurella in and some Chelsea defenders, and that paid off. So if you listen to that advice, you would have got some good clean sheet points as well. Maybe if you want to go for an alternative, you could possibly look at getting in Reece James, obviously because of his great performance in the previous game, so you might want to build off of that. And again, I'd recommend Gakpo just because he seems to be the man at Liverpool at the moment. Defenders, of course, this is a given. You got to get Gabriel or you got to get Timber. Alternative is Calafiori. I'd stay away from Saliba just because Saliba's more of a, you know, he just gets his clean sheets and defensive contribution points, but he lacks in that attacking return sense. And then I would also recommend Burn from Newcastle, even though they do have a tough fixture against Fulham. Newcastle have actually been quite good defensively, and so that would be a nice addition. And then I've also recommended Senesi from Bournemouth because they have Nottingham Forest next, and as you know, Nottingham Forest have been absolutely abysmal this season, and so gotta get either Semenyo, Senesi, or just someone, whether that's, oh, maybe even Kluivert. Maybe that's who I should recommend for strikers. Yes, I'm gonna actually recommend Kluivert. Is his name Kluivert? Sorry, I don't know. Is he a midfielder or a striker? I'll have a look after, but one of them two. But yeah, definitely Bournemouth players because they've been great so far. But anyway, sorry, I whizzed through that. But yeah, that is the end of this episode. Let's see who's taking a sip next week when game week 9 wraps up. But thank you guys, and see you guys next week.